Good morning, London. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. You guys just had a behind-the-scenes look at one of our actual data centers in London. How cool was that? From build to delivery to fully operational. Stay tuned later in the day, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. So my name is Sophia. I'm the COO here at Civo. You'll meet the rest of our leadership team later in the day. We'll bring up quite a few of them for our next keynote. If you haven't joined us before, you are in for a treat. Welcome. And if you have joined us before, welcome back. We're very excited to have you today. I know it's still a bit early, so to kick things off, I have a few questions to ask the audience and a few t-shirts to give away. So I want to hear from everyone where you're from. If you think that you're the furthest away traveling in, I would love to have you raise your hand and tell me where you're traveling in from. If you can call it out.
Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado. Can anybody beat that? I know we have another Denver person over here.
South Africa.
South Africa. Okay. Canada, amazing. Anybody else? Far back, you're gonna have to yell loud. China, amazing. Okay. I'm gonna need somebody to do some calculations here. I don't know, I think that one may win it. Awesome, so, gosh, I feel like there's so many there. Okay, so the other question I have is who thinks that they've been in IT the longest? This one deserves a t-shirt. Does anybody want to admit? How many years? Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, if nobody wants to say how long they've been in IT, there we go. How long have you been in IT? 44 years. Amazing. Anybody else?
I've been in IT since the age of 5, so that makes it 52 years.
Ooh. Okay, tell you what, I'll give you both a t-shirt. It's pretty impressive, so I'm going to throw it to you. Test my throwing skills. Ready? There you go. Oop. Okay, I'm going to throw you one too. Awesome. Okay, so we have a jam-packed schedule today. If you all haven't already scanned the QR code, this is going to be basically your Civo Bible here to figure out where things are and what to go see. If you don't have this QR code later on in the day, be sure to stop by the information desk at the front when you first walked in, and you'll be able to scan it there, or find anybody in the green shirts, and they will direct you. If everybody in the green shirts wants to wave their hands in the back, just so everybody can spot you. Awesome. Huge thank you to our sponsors. Without them, this couldn't be possible. So thank you, New Relic, as our platinum sponsor. We're very excited to have you today. You'll have a few different ways to interact with our sponsors. First, you'll be able to talk to them during the breaks. We have some really great food, coffee, tea throughout the day. So during our morning break, lunch, and our afternoon break. You'll also be able to do a scavenger hunt. So at the end of the day, we're going to be giving away an Apple Watch. So throughout the day, in your lanyards, there's going to be a little card that is a scavenger hunt card. You'll go around to each of the booths and ask different questions. Once you collect stickers from each of the booths, you're going to turn that card back into the information desk. And then at 6:30, I believe, we're going to be doing a drawing to see who will win that Apple Watch. And then our gold tier sponsors and our silver tier, again, we could not be here without you, so thank you so much. And of course, our community and media sponsors as well. So before I kick things off with our keynote, I'd like to welcome up our CEO and founder, Mark Boost.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? All good? Nice to see you all here today. This is about our 7th, I think, Navigate event we've done. We've done them all around the world. We've done them in Tampa. We've done them in Austin. We've done them in San Francisco. We've done them in London a couple of times, Berlin, and we're actually going to India in November. So, yeah, just trying to present really what our philosophies are about cloud and really try and change the way we believe cloud should be, which we'll talk more about today. But as it says on the screen, in every industry there's a tipping point, and we're seeing one right now with AI. We're seeing the largest shift since the Industrial Revolution, moving to a world where your data is more important than ever. And many consider it the new oil. And we all want to leverage AI to make better decisions. We want to increase our productivity. But in order to make the most of AI, we need to share our valuable data. If you're, say, a law firm, that might be sensitive client information and documents around that commercially sensitive materials. If you're in pharmaceuticals, that might be proprietary molecular designs and trial data. If you're a SaaS company, it might be your whole code base. And then perhaps if you're KFC, it might be Colonel Sanders' secret chicken recipe. But right now, there's very little governance around how big tech companies are processing your valuable information and where data is being processed and who has access to it. And companies are crying out for change. Here's a survey we did where we surveyed 1,000 UK-based IT decision makers, and the results are quite staggering. Here's a few highlights on the screen. 84% of respondents said that they're concerned about geopolitical threats to data access. 82% said they would switch from big tech for more data control, and 71% said they would prioritize sovereignty in their tech partner choices. So we have a full copy of the survey results available on our sovereignty white paper, which is on our public cloud booth outside. Go check it out, grab a copy, and you can learn more about that. But I also speak to lots of analyst firms like Gartner and ABI, and data sovereignty has become the #1 priority for many organizations. And it's dominating boardroom conversations. And many enterprises are evaluating that data strategy and the risks of having all of their data and their eggs in one basket. And those boardroom discussions are already beginning to translate into action, with companies increasingly demanding true sovereign infrastructure. But right now, we live in a world where your precious data is controlled by very few. You play by the hyperscaler rules. Data sovereignty has become a marketing term, and there is little to no legally agreed definition of what it means. Right now, there's a disconnect between what customers want and what hyperscalers offer. So at Civo, we've built a new kind of cloud and defined a better business model to support it. We've listened carefully to our customers and what they're craving. More value, more simplicity, more flexibility, and more transparency. But perhaps most importantly, we give you more control. We're a UK-founded company and guarantee 100% data sovereignty. Civo is built for more, and today you'll see how Civo delivers exactly that. So I'm going to hand over to Dinesh, our CTO, to show you more.
Thank you very much, Mark. So when we're talking about sovereignty, and especially in an IT world, we're usually making the choice between a public cloud and a massive deployment, like one of the you saw in the video at the start. However, we're giving you an option now where you're able to do this using the same technology that we use in a private cloud environment in your own data center. We're able to do this because our software that we've been running in our public cloud over the past 8 years, called Civo Stack, gives us the flexibility to run this wherever. Civo Stack was designed from the ground up to run on small commodity hardware that then scales up to public cloud. It means that we can now deliver this in an appliance such as this FlexCore that we've got here on stage, and later will be out on the booth of the private cloud so that you can see what it is. We're able to deliver this around the world and get it up and running quickly, and that's one of the key things that we've been done. And Jared's going to help me with a quick demo to show you how easy it is to get up and running. So if we swap over to the demo screen. Great. So our public cloud run through this dashboard has got all of the functionalities that users use, so instances, compute. But what we've also built is the ability to order a FlexCore. So coming down and asking about a private region, it all starts with filling out. So getting in touch with us and starting the process. So we have lots of different ways of specifications of FlexCore. So it starts with a conversation about exactly how much you need to deploy today. And as I say, that starts as small as this, all the way up to a full data center of 10s, 20s, 30s of racks. So once you've been in touch with us, you'll then get a form to fill out where we pre-ask for all of the networking information that you're required. This means that when the hardware arrives in the data center, it is literally plug and play like a USB. Arrives, powers on, and gets up and running. So there is a little bit of pre-work, but we make it really, really simple. And once that's submitted, we're going to do the fastest hardware order and provision in the world, or it's a demo. I don't know which one you want to believe. So what happens here is this order goes out to our partner, Vespa, who you saw at the start, who will be taking these boxes off the shelf, configuring them all ready to go. They'll be doing all of the validation to make sure that it's ready to start. They'll then securely ship it, either in the big shipping crates or down into something more manageable. And that arrives at your data center where it's all ready to go. You then take that, you power it in, you give it some power, you give it some network. Hopefully you put it somewhere where it's going to be cool, but these are edge devices that can take a little bit of heat. And as we're seeing AI being deployed out around the world, you're not always going to be in a nice fancy data center. So there is some flexibility in what we're doing. So at this point, the hardware's arrived, it's phoned home, it's in your site, it's done all of the checks, and now it comes up here ready to connect. And that's it. You now have a public cloud in your data center that appears as another region inside Civo. What this means, being a full public cloud, is you can now interact with it however you would a public cloud. So Jared's got up here some Terraform code. So rather than having to do point and click, going through wizards or anything, this is the same Terraform that you're using inside a public cloud. And all Jared's done here is he swapped from the London 1 region, our public cloud region, over into our private region. So there it is up there. And that same Terraform that would give you an instance in the public cloud will give you an instance in the private cloud. Demo. But that is there, it'll be ready, it'll come up and show you an instance there that's ready to run. Just want to create it in the dashboard and show that that is up and running. So you get all of these options, and I'll be going through more of this in the public cloud briefing that will be at 1:30, showing you all of the full capabilities that we have in either private clouds down here or in public clouds at the scale that we deploy. But there we go. Our instance is up and ready to run. Thank you very much, Jared. So as of today, we have got our public cloud in these locations around the world. UK first, we've got 2 locations in and around London, allowing you to deploy resiliently across the country. We also have a region in Europe, 2 in America, and we recently launched our region out in India as well. Over the next year, we'll be launching 4 more data centers throughout the world as the points are there. So these are the services that we're able to offer in any of those regions, and as I say, privately. Managed Kubernetes, where we're backing the best of open source and backing the best way of scheduling workload at cloud scale. Instances, we're able to deploy GPUs, and I know Josh is going to cover some of the excellent work that we've been doing there on what we're able to deploy of the world's fastest GPUs. And then we're able to back that with attached volumes, databases, and object storage. We've been working very closely over the past year to define FlexCore with a customer, in defense.com, I'm really excited to bring Ollie up on stage to talk about what he's been doing with FlexCore over the past year.
Thanks, Dinesh. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks everyone for joining us. And I wanted to start by just telling you a bit about us, I suppose, just to give you a bit of an idea of why we need this sort of technology. Defense.com is a SaaS platform that we developed to help businesses to materially improve their security wherever it is. So we do lots of things for our customers, but ultimately what we're doing is trying to help to create a world where cybersecurity empowers businesses to thrive and innovate, providing them peace of mind against cyber attacks. And that's quite hard for so many businesses. It's complicated, it feels difficult, feels like they're spending a lot of money on something, and we're trying to help simplify that and make it really easy for them. And we've been partnering with Civo for quite a while, actually. We started out as a business about 5 years ago, 7 years ago. We started another organization. At the same time, we started thinking, what's the big solution we need to solve? And that's for these smaller businesses that need cybersecurity, but something that's powerful enough that can help enterprises as well. So initially, our platform was basically in a data center. It was loads of servers that were running Kubernetes and technology like that, but having like massive disks that we had to retain large volumes of data, because to our customers, we're ingesting large volumes of log data primarily. That's one method of which we get information from their environment to know what's going on. So we're processing today, just out of the top 200 customers, we've got about 4,500 businesses on our platform using our technology, and 200 of those customers account for about 1.3 trillion messages we process a year. So it's a huge volume of data. When you're throwing that onto just disks all the time and then giving them 90 days worth of log data to trawl back through, you need it to be fast. And it's very unpredictable. We don't know how much data they're going to send us. We don't bill them by the amount of data we send us either. So it's all about like high performance, high throughput, processing that data really quickly and giving them something they can do something with that information. We turn that into around about just over 200,000 threats that we generate for those customers throughout the year. They're actionable. There's something they can do something with. So we always need to be monitoring. We need that fast 90-day log search capability, and we always need to be up. And of course, another big part of our process is we need to make sure we're compliant to standards like ISO 27001, PCI, Cyber Essentials, all those sort of great standards. So when you think about our traditional stack and where it is today, it's massively scaled. It's really now dealing with 4,500 businesses, making sure that they're able to get onto the platform, get the most out of it. Our stack and our technology has completely changed. And one thing that's really helped us is the ability to use FlexCore. It's a real game changer for us for a number of key reasons. Our architecture is all built on Kubernetes. So we've got this kind of big part of our log collection stack, which is just jamming lots of data or consuming lots of data from our customers' environments. We then have to translate that into data that we can process and we can enrich with security relevant information, also contextualize it in a way that our security analysts can then review that data and make a decision on whether they need to pick up the phone and call somebody or take an action, maybe respond to a security threat for them on their behalf. So as it goes through the process of building it into the system, getting it into processing where we enrich it, we normalize that data, we then have to expose it to our customers and to our analysts to deal with it. And then we also use AI to build things like runbooks and other things that help us to do a better job of ingesting data and making sense of it when we do bring in new technology for our customers. And also, that's the other thing for our platform that's quite tricky. When we bring on a new customer, we don't always necessarily know exactly what it is we're going to be ingesting log data from. So we need to figure out very quickly what log value security value we can get from the logs, enable our analysts to do a really good job of responding to that security threat. So we're using the Civo cloud infrastructure as well to use GPUs to help enrich that information. Also helps us to translate log data into runbooks that can then turn into detection rules that we then escalate that up to our customers. And there's so many more use cases we're using right now. We have built an MCP service as well, which will help our customers utilizing the technology within the Civo stack as well to help us to build out the ability to enable our customers to engage with our threats through using the AI technology. But what's really been the game changer for us around the FlexCore appliances is that we want to have data residency, and we also need it to be sovereign, so that a lot of our customers come to us exactly requiring that, basically. Working with NHS, we're working with large organizations, and they don't want their data going all around the world. They want to stay where it came in and where it exists. And so for us, really, what that's meant, if I can progress the slides. My clicker's gone. clicker stopped working. I don't know if, can we progress the slides elsewhere? Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, we're there. So why we chose Civo, and specifically why the FlexCore. So we wanted that data residency, but we also need the compliance support as well. Like, we have a small team of engineers. So for us, managing like a big stack of equipment in a data center becomes very difficult to manage and scale to. We wanted the benefits of the Civo public cloud, but in this kind of private cloud region. So it's really important for us. And we needed it to be able to be ultimately scalable. All of that infrastructure I showed you earlier, our high-level design documentation, all of that is scalable. So everything needs to be able to scale up and down as we need it to, but we want it to maintain this ability to have like a private region, but in public. So massive scaling. High performance AI and machine learning as well. Real-time threat analysis is not something you need to do fast. You need to do it really quickly. We're talking milliseconds to enrich the data. If it hits a pipeline and it takes 4 hours to respond, we might miss something. And of course, that's disastrous for our brand. It's disastrous for our customers. And it means a lot of painful cleanup. We also need to have that built-in security and compliance. Like, we're a cybersecurity company, so we can't have our brand being tarnished by our third-party suppliers letting us down. And so we've really focused on making sure we're picking the right partner for that. And like I said, we get that convenience for the FlexCore of the on-prem infrastructure we really want, but with the cloud benefits. That gives us security, the data sovereignty, the residency, operations at scale. So what we mean here is that continual fast growth capability. Like, we, again, don't know how many customers are on board in the SaaS platform at any one time. We could get hundreds of people sign up in a few minutes, and we need to be able to scale quickly on board them and get them going. And we can't do that in a predictable pricing way with a lot of the bigger providers. Like, you know, if we go to like the AWSs of this world and Azure, we're a small business. We need to be able to do that scale without suddenly getting a massive bill that we can't afford that's going to break our bank. So that's us in a nutshell. Oops, I'm progressing forward. We do have a stand. If you want to come and give our platform a try, we do actually give you free access to the platform for anybody who's come to the event to do an application check, cyber assessments, and also give you the opportunity to give the platform a quick go for free. So give me a shout if you want to have a look at it. Thanks a lot.
I'm one of the technical advisors to Civo, have been for about the last year. And people would ask me, why would you want to advise a company like Civo? You just left a really, really large cloud provider. What do you see in a company like this? When I look at this diagram of some of the regions, you're like, wow, they have a lot of catch-up work to do. And I spent 7 years at a major cloud provider, and it felt like we were always racing with each other, trying to create regions everywhere on the planet. And no matter what we did, we were always one region short. Every customer, do you have a region on Mars? No. Do you have customers on Mars? We might. And so there was always this infinite challenge. And one thing we did was we all played that race. And in order to get value, even if we put a region in your city, your country, or your town, there was still this requirement to move your data to get a lot of value from it, or dig up the ground and run dedicated network cables in order to bridge the gap between the two. And we did that for a long time. There are probably some companies in the audience that were formed specifically to help companies with these cloud migrations. Some of them worked, many of them failed. If you're being transparent, how many of you have a failed cloud migration that you've been a part of? 2 hands, 2 truth tellers. Most of you are lying. If you haven't had a failed cloud migration, my guess is you haven't tried. All of my years, I have seen very few companies move everything. Do the math. If you're a company around for at least 20 to 30 years, that means you've bought every technology innovation that has come out. You probably have some mainframe. Remember when OpenStack was all the rave? All the Dell and the HP hardware that you bought, it all just accumulates. And if you actually have real customers and you're actually successful, then all that stuff is still there, making you money. It's something that should be celebrated. I hate when people call that stuff legacy infrastructure. I like to think about it as money-making infrastructure. And when someone comes along and says, you need to move all of it, so you can do exactly the same thing that you were doing before. Now, I was very proud to be in the cloud and some of the things that we built. So when I joined the cloud around 2014, 2015, there were so many things you can do in the cloud that you could not do on-prem, and many have tried. And the cloud would go on to evolve, and then the cloud gave us a gift. If you were paying attention for the last 10 years, this thing called cloud native changed everything, in my opinion. We went from purely proprietary services for everything, how VMs are created, how containers are managed, even things basic such as storage and networking, 100% proprietary across the board. Part of that cloud arms race, a lot of us turned to open source, and we were born projects like Kubernetes, Istio, standardizations around observability, open telemetry. And the benefit of that is we figured out how to take cloud-born technologies and run them anywhere, including on-prem. But we didn't do that, did we? A lot of people got blindsided by moving everything to the cloud that we forgot one of the most important groups involved in this equation. It's the data center operators, the DBAs, the network administrators, all the people that helped you build your businesses for the last couple of decades, who got you up and running in production and got it all stable. We didn't include them in this equation. We asked them, move it all to the cloud, and it turns out, even when you move to the cloud, you still had to manage virtual infrastructure. Did anyone have the illusion that we would move all this stuff to the cloud and it would become someone else's problem? Some of you signed that contract and you thought that was the case. And it turns out you still need all the other things you were doing before. You just have a shared responsibility. And then something changed. One of the most influential workloads of all time showed up. Whatever you thought your expertise was, whatever cloud contract you had signed, when the ML workload showed up and it needed more data than you can possibly ever move, it challenged the concept of a system of record. It challenged the speeds of your network. You just upgraded to the 10 gig fabric. It didn't matter. The GPUs needed 100 gig to 400 gig, and now they're talking 800 gig backplanes. And I know what you were thinking. Well, we'll just let the cloud provider take care of it. And you went to the cloud console and you click GPUs, and what did it tell you? You're too small. We don't have enough. You heard the stock out? And you've been using public cloud, you ever clicked that button and it told you there was no more hardware available? So now you understand the concept of a shared public cloud, and nothing's wrong with it, but we learned a lot. And so I think if you were to think about incorporating everyone in this mission, how do you get cloud infrastructure to cover the entire globe? I think you have to think about it a little different. I hope there's a future that looks more like this. Public cloud offers lots of values. Many companies have no business doing any infrastructure management themselves. They just don't know how to do it. They don't respect the craft, and maybe it's just in their best interest to run public cloud. But some of the things that you saw earlier on, the rack being provisioned for you, the concept of keep your data where it lives. Data gravity is a real thing. And this is really logical when you think about all the retail outfits and the hospitals where the data just can't move. Sovereignty is stressing a lot of concerns about moving your data to a particular place. And it's not just sovereignty, it's just the convenience of all the expertise you built up over the years. The reality that these systems don't typically get replaced, they get augmented. The ability to expand your own premises and bring those actual cloud capabilities locally is the vision. So if you're a data center specialist, if you're a company that has spent 30 years building up this operational muscle where you do know how to provision hardware, you do know how to do upgrades of firmware on top of rack switches, you don't need to throw all of that away, but you may need a little bit of help. And that's the vision that I saw in what Civo was trying to do. And the one thing that I've really kind of pushed hard in some of my advisory work with the team, you have to always remember the parity problem. If you build things that only work in the public cloud but don't scale down, you're going to create the same scenario that we spend the last 10 years trying to walk away from. And as an engineer that's worked in cloud, this is not an easy task. But I do think the cloud native movement, all the open source and all the open protocols have finally evened the playing field. And I always tell Mark and the team when they think about this race and this ability to catch up, they have the late mover advantage. Some cloud providers do have a legacy too. We talk about it exactly the same way. What was a nice design in 2014 is no longer competitive in 2025. And they have to think about migrating from that legacy stack to something a bit more modern and a bit more up to date. And that's the advantage we have. And so the thing I think that's going to drive this even faster, maybe you were thinking about something like this 5 to 10 years from now. Some of you have gotten your cloud build, so maybe this is a next year decision for you. But I think the ML workload that a lot of companies are facing will drive this adoption much, much faster. And to talk a little bit more about that workload, I want to introduce Josh, Civo's Chief Innovation Officer, to dive into the details. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. And what a powerful message there about democratizing infrastructure and AI and the current possibilities we have. And I'm very excited today to talk to you about how Civo is doing this different and how we're building a cloud where you can rely on us to build first-class AI solutions. Before we do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the need right now for UK sovereignty and the importance behind it. And I think everyone here is a believer of the fact that the UK is an AI powerhouse and has been in a historic moment. We produce more PhDs in mathematics, statistics, machine learning than the entirety of Europe combined. We have 400 billion as a potential opportunity to gain into UK economy by 2030. And actually further research from analysts such as Gartner say that we are the G7 nation poised to gain the most from generative AI research right now. Even with this largest opportunity ahead of us, the most opportunity for us to gain an increase in our economy, increase the throughput of our development, we still haven't produced assets like a foundational model. And when we ask experts about why is this the case, why are we the third biggest country with the most amount of investment but producing the least amount of artifacts, is the bottom line comes down to a conversation about capabilities, having access to the latest generation hardware and infrastructure in your hands to be able to solve these problems. And at Civo, we've built these from the ground up around these modern problems. You're not pulling a cloud infrastructure solution that's been built 10 years ago on the legacy cloud. We are built for this problem being solved at the scale that the challenge is at right now. We are looking at what you can do around GPU acceleration options by default across all of our products. Our storage across the board is inference and training ready for high performance workloads. And we've worked effortlessly with partners to be able to make sure that that's in place for you. Further to the points that Kelsey's made is we have a really powerful network and security layer here that directly approaches the challenges such as complex compliance configurations, difficult regulatory environments. And we're really eager to be able to make those instantaneously available through products such as on-premise, FlexCore, and what you saw earlier today. We are committed to making sure we are adamant advisors to you guys around the infrastructure you choose, how you run, and how your workloads are taking advantage of the latest generation technologies. We understand that this is the #1 challenge that people are struggling with right now, is how do I keep up with the AI explosion? And that's why Civo has been very proud to provide all of the generations of machine learning acceleration from NVIDIA, from Ampere, all the way to the B200 GPUs that we were one of the first providers in the UK to be able to perform. We have seen 100x performance across GPUs over the last 5 years. We have been building expertise that makes you the first people to be able to leverage that and experience it. If you want to learn a little bit more about what we're doing in this area, we have an AI product briefing a little bit later on today where I'll be digging into details about how you can build these products. And if you want to talk about the insights for that, at the end of the day, I've got a workshop around using these to build enterprises in a smarter way. Alongside building your AI solutions, we also have a turnkey solution for AI for companies who don't want to build from the scratch ground up. I'd like to invite Mark Porter onto the stage to help us demo some of this. Fantastic. So Relax is our privacy-first AI platform. And the focus we have here is to enable complex regulatory environments and complex regulatory challenges that typically would be difficult to achieve. We are one of the first providers to enable UK in-country processing. If you are looking at legal records in the UK or UK hospital records, we're one of the only providers that can not only keep that being sent to the model in the country, but the entire life cycle of all agentic functionality behind that is also kept inside the same data center. We run entirely on open source models. This is the relaxAI interface. We have worked really hard to make sure that this is available for both technical individuals through services like an API, but also the non-technical individuals who want to leverage AI. To start out, Mark, do you want to ask Relax a question about the Bishopsgate area? Fantastic. And as this is being sent, this is all being processed in our UK data centers on the latest NVIDIA B200 hardware. This is being stored and processed at military-grade encryption on AES 256 and is ready to go with turnkey privacy and design. But it's not just about having privacy and performance. It's also about making sure that these tools can solve real problems. And actually, what we're really excited to show you is actually the deep research product we've been working, which is built to be able to leverage this advanced machine learning technology, take a hold of a problem inside your business, such as, should I make this particular investment? Where is the current state of this technical implementation? And actually produce an in-depth analyst report on that exact subject. So Mark, should we get there to do a research report on the current state of the UK cloud industry? Fantastic. And what will happen here is this will kick it off. It will use a variety of open source models. You can see we have GPT OSS, but then also Llama and DeepSeek. And what we're doing here is we're taking the best parts of each of these open source models. We're using each of those for the different stages they're best at within the application. And we're pulling together a comprehensive research report. This will intelligently identify the areas that you've instructed it to go to, and you can very easily shape this into what would be an analyst report, a financial investment report, or a technical breakdown. I'll save you walking through this. Would you want to flick to the one we did a little bit earlier, Mark, so people can see the report? You can see here it's starting to build queries alongside that on the questions to answer this. And what you will be presented with, if you're familiar with deep research from alternative providers, is an in-depth, accurate, research-backed, with citations proving statements being made. This is resistant to hallucinations and actually can be taken out of this application and given to your technical teams. This is available today. It's live now, and you can go take this either in the web app, or if you want to be able to go to the API and do something clever like run a research report every time you do a sales call on the person in place to make sure you're fully prepared for your meeting. We are adamant on this staying within the UK. We're one of the only people to be able to process this in country as well. And we're really excited to be able to get this across to our customers today. Just one last thing to show on the demo, if that's okay. Under settings here, we have support for a controlled environment for sovereignty. So if Mark clicks under privacy here, you'll be able to see that actually you can be in complete control of where your AI data is being sent. Alongside that, you can control if your data is being used for training. By default, we take none of your data as it's encrypted. And then one of the things to make sure that this is being federated and managed across your organization is also we have enterprise-grade account management, both for your API to be able to control all your engineers inside the building, but then also your customers who are using the platform on your behalf as well. Fantastic. And I think just to talk a little bit about the reasons we made these decisions. And I think there's a lot of conversation going on right now about where the current state of AI is, and the UK versus China versus the US. But actually, I think some points that Kelsey made here were really, really prominent. Is actually, this is the AIME benchmark. This is the world's current golden source of truth for how hard problems can be and how well AI can solve them. And actually, the thing we're really encountering here is actually all the players are so close together. We're reaching parity now in the same way that Linux and open source disrupted the infrastructure market. This isn't about proprietary technology anymore. We're seeing this rapidly transform the way. It's not about having access to the latest and greatest model. It's about having that model run on your terms, being able to solve your business problems. We're not going to spend time and effort building a model. We're actually going to make sure that we're the best place for you guys to run your models on Civo, and making sure that's in place with the world's latest optimizations and most powerful hardware. One of the most impactful things about the relaxAI service is our fundamental cost saving. So actually, we were able to achieve cost savings of up to 80% against Claude Opus 4.1 and up to 90% against ChatGPT 5. We can deliver a similar level of accuracy on problems as shown as the graphs before. And the most exciting thing that I really encourage customers to jump ahead and do so here is Relax as a drop-in replacement for ChatGPT and Claude. You can grab an API key off the service, you can input that into your system, and within one day you can perform a migration that gives you all of your data sovereignty and privacy within the UK and a 90% cost saving. Thank you very much. I have the pleasure now to introduce Dan, one of our customers who works on the Civo infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So I'm Dan. I'm one of the founders of Orbital Materials. We are an engineering company that uses our proprietary AI models trained on the Civo stack to design advanced materials that give our hardware technologies unique performance. I'll talk to you a bit about what we do and how Civo is enabling us to build world-leading models. I think everyone's aware of the challenges that AI is creating, particularly from an infrastructure perspective. I think we're huge believers that the AI revolution has a huge amount of benefits when it comes to drug discovery, when it comes to developing advanced materials for climate technologies. But the challenge is that the building out of the AI workloads, the data centers, have huge impact, whether that is the challenges around densification and the increasing power that's going to the rack, moving at a pace that's outstripping the current cooling that's available on the market. You just see this exponential curve going from where we were maybe 3 years ago, where you're looking at 15, 20 kilowatts to the rack, to now with the GB300s, about 150 kilowatts to the rack, to the Rubin generation upwards of 600 kilowatts to the rack. These AI workloads, the AI chips, require new cooling technologies for being able to bring the benefits of AI to the world. And then when it comes to data centers themselves, you're seeing huge challenges when it comes to water usage. A data center from one of the large hyperscalers was just put on hold last week because it was going to use 1 million barrels of water a day. In the US alone, 64 billion of spend was put on hold or canceled completely in US data center build-out because of community opposition, environmental opposition. And then likewise, if you think about the CO2 emissions that data centers create, the data center industry itself has now surpassed commercial aviation and one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. So that's really where we situate ourselves. We have designed our proprietary AI models on the Civo stack that enable us to design rationally materials. You're able to specify upfront the materials properties that you'd expect to see, whether that is having an affinity over capturing water or CO2 out of the air, whether that is the precursors that you use to make these materials. And what's really exciting for us is we've been able to build these world-class models through the Civo infrastructure that outperform models by Meta, by Google DeepMind, by Microsoft. Not only because we're able to access the latest GPUs, but also for the whole kind of Civo ecosystem, enabling us to build models effectively, train models effectively. I think something that wasn't described enough today is just the world-class customer support that you get from the Civo team. It's kind of unparalleled across the cloud providers that we use. All the people you see today are the people you get to work with day in, day out. So we take those materials and then we deploy them. We use RA models to design advanced hardware solutions that incorporate those materials that give them the unique properties. And let's talk about what that looks like. So here, the video is working. Fantastic. So this is our two-phase direct-to-chip technology. So here we have used our AI models to design a novel fluid that is able to cool GPUs up to 1 megawatt to the rack. The video was able to see. Not quite sure how to hit play again. But a really important piece around two-phase refrigerants, 2A fluids, is the fact that they all meet the definition of PFAS under EU REACH. We've been able to use our AI models to design non-PFAS refrigerants, and this video is a simulation using our model Orb that shows the degradation of the material, so we can actually simulate exactly how it's degrading to make sure it doesn't hit these definitions that enable us to scale these the refrigerant worldwide. And then we have another one of our products, a dual-use chiller. So this does data center level heat rejection, but it also does atmospheric processing in the same step, capturing water and CO2 to offset the data center's water usage and CO2 emissions. And here you see our generative model starting with the random point cloud of atoms and then reasoning over the chemical universe to design a material that is optimized, in this case, for CO2 capture. all designed with models that we've trained on the Civo stack. And so we really see that, we're designing models, we've designed our agentic platform, it's built by Orbital, but really enabled by Civo. And I think, this partnership for us has been not only about the compute infrastructure and the amazing kind of ML ops support, we're able to run all of this with a very small DevOps team, which has been a huge enabler for us as a startup. But also, most importantly, Civo is a wider partnership. We're also working with them to pilot our technology and really building this holistic partnership with a cloud provider that for us is second to none. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Wasn't that really insightful from Dan from Orbital Materials? I have the pleasure of welcoming Regent Lee from Oxford University next.
Good morning. I'm going to take you slightly off-piece from the previous subjects, but to a subject that's going to affect us all, healthcare. And I'm a surgeon, scientist, and now I'm developing a new career as a moonshot engineer, and I'll show you why. That is not what I'm working on. That is what I'm working on. Okay, so this is how I'm going to explain to you Civo supports my research and how we're transforming healthcare with a focus on radiology. Every day, millions of these kind of scans are being done, the CT scans and PET-CT scans. Now, some of you might have had one of these scans, and majority of these scans require the injection of radio contrast pharmaceuticals. Now, if you look at the top left scan, it's a CT scan without injections, it's a shade of gray. Now, with these radio pharmaceutical injections, doctors can see better, the white and yellow arrows, such as the heart and the blood vessel chambers, or the left bottom, which is radioactive traces that shows up cancer. Now, for those of you who actually had one of these scans, you might recall this being a little bit uncomfortable. You might have to wait for a long time to get to the scan. In NHS, 4 weeks wait to get to a PET-CT scan. And you might have to travel a fair distance to go get one of these scans, because not every hospital has these highly specialized equipment to perform the scans. Now, think of the environmental impact as well. These injections, they take single-use products, needles, plastic, everything disposable, extra energy required to perform the scans, plus all the radiopharmaceuticals that's being injected to get released into the wastewater, very high pollution problem. So, no wonder radiology actually accounts for about 1% of carbon footprint globally. If you just look at each one of these scans, 60 kilo of carbon from PET-CT scan and 9 kilo of carbon from CT scan, and millions of these scans are being done daily. What if we tell you we can make do of this pharmaceutical injection process and simply displace it by a digital one? And this is where we introduce CT synthetic contrast and CT synthetic PET. We apply state-of-the-art generative AI, and we take that baseline, simple, non-resource constraining scan, put it through AI, and give you that digitized version of contrast CT scan and PET-CT scan instead. Make it much safer for the patient, much efficient for the healthcare systems, and much more accessible for all the populations. And it's going to be good for the environment. So my teams invented this during COVID. Disclaimer, patents filed. I'm a co-founder of the company, and we're taking this to market. And globally, there's now a huge international network supporting this R&D effort. These are some of the early use cases that we demonstrated. You can see that the top is sort of liver lesion in orange, the spleen in the bottom right, and the PET-CT scan on the bottom, you can see the cancer lights up in a synthetic version. No injection, all done digitally. And here is a video demonstration of the CT synthetic contrast in action. On the far left-hand side is a baseline non-contrast CT scan, far right is the chemical contrast with the injection. In the middle is the comparison, CT digital contrast or CT synthetic contrast at work. So it's great for many aspects that we spoke of, and it wakes me up every day to try to do things better for the environment, for the healthcare system. But I remind myself, I want to pay a tribute. Ultimately, I'm doing this for all the patients that we're treating. This is Reno. Reno was a dear friend. I met him virtually during COVID when I first invented this methodology, and Reno was trying to help me build software so we can go and pitch to VCs, or pitch to angels to get money. And I said to Reno, Reno's got a PhD in physics. So when I explained to him the science, he understood it. He said, Regent, I'm going to help you build the software. Let's do it. And we got to meet up for a pint after COVID, but I never met Reno in person. This was the last text I got from him. Reno died during COVID because of liver cancer. And remember, this is someone with a PhD in physics, really understood the science, wanted to help me build a software. On his deathbed, he told me, Regent, now that I have 3 contrast CT scans in a day, I really understand why you're doing this. And this is remembering Reno from the core of my heart. And if you want to hear more about how our project is, this one, a Horizon Europe funded project, a big 20 side project funded by Horizon Europe, which thankfully UK is now back in association of. Please do check our website and get the latest update. And if you can follow us on LinkedIn, I can report back to Horizon Europe to say I'm now getting traction. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Regent. Yeah, so thanks very much to Dan and Regent for sharing, life-changing work that they're doing. It's really impressive, and I'm very proud actually that they're using Civo AI infrastructure to accelerate this. Before we head to the break, not far away from the coffee now, I'd like to close out with some final thoughts. As this graphic shows, that traditionally there's been 2 worlds in cloud, if you like. Public cloud dominated by AWS, Google, Microsoft, and private cloud dominated by the likes of VMware and Nutanix. And these 2 worlds have 0 compatibility. And if you want to move between these 2 worlds, you have to throw away what you already have and re-architect everything. And Civo is changing this, as you've already learned today, by rewriting the script. We're eliminating that gap between the public and the private cloud. It's just cloud. One way of working, same product, same features, same API, and the same people that support you. We call it cloud parity. Access to cloud anywhere, in your data center or ours, run workloads at the edge, or even in a hybrid setup. And in this AI era, Civo is built to give you more control of your valuable data. It's no longer one size fits all. It's the cloud the way you want it. Thank you.